Hello everyone, welcome back to the Unexplained and the Unexplainable. I'm your host D, this is my co-host B, and we are here today to talk about the mysterious creature Bigfoot. But before we talk about that, I just wanted to say real quick, this is my third try. I've messed up twice. I got the name of our podcast backwards, and I stumbled on saying hello to everyone.
Well, we got off to a rough start,
Yeah.
but hopefully we'll be able to make it up here.
This is the premiere of season 2. The premiere of season 2.
This is episode 6.
Episode 1, season 2.
Episode 1, season 2, yep. Also known as our 6th episode.
Yep, ever made. Yep, correct.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today, D?
We're going to talk about Bigfoot.
Oh, wait, Bigfoot?
Yeah, he has a giant foot.
That's a good name for him then, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I would guess so.
All right, so why don't you tell us about Bigfoot?
Okay, let's get into the script that took me about relatively 30 minutes to write. Willow Creek is the Bigfoot capital. Types of Bigfoot creatures. Types of Bigfoot are types of Bigfoot / Sasquatch. In the Himalayas, it's the Yeti. In Australia, it's the Yowie. In Indonesia, it's the Ibugogo. I'm just going to assume that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if anyone's watching and they live in Indonesia, even though they probably be using captions because they don't know how to speak English. Or don't have access to the internet because of,
I don't know.
And in the Pacific Northwest, it is Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. In Missouri, interestingly enough, it's Momo, the monster. Did you know that?
No, I mean...
You learned something already on this podcast.
There's like 282 sightings in
That's what in Missouri. In Missouri, yeah, he's known as the Momo monster.
I don't want to go backyard and say, hey, that's Momo, and then people be like, hey, that girl on the internet that had a really weird face that everyone was scared of for like months. I'm like, no, this Bigfoot kind of thing. It's like, oh, you're talking about Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the Momo monster.
Huh. Okay, I didn't understand any of that, so let's go on.
Yeah, I didn't understand of it either. So, yeah, let's go on. Accounts of the Sasquatch. Okay, 1 second. Our cat is scratching at the door.
Let's just ignore her. She'll be fine.
Ignore that cat. Yeah, okay. So, accounts of the Sasquatch. The first account of big, strong, ape-like people date back to the 15th century in Caucasus, a mountain region between Asia and Europe. Bigfoot sightings have been reported in every state in the U.S. Every U.S. state, yeah. Some people believe that it is not a single creature, but a species.
In other words, there's like a whole bunch of these Bigfoot creatures out there running around. I know what species
means.
No, I'm just asking.
I'm pretty sure most second or third graders know, and with this podcast, I don't think second or third graders should be watching a true crime podcast.
Well, I'm not telling you. I'm asking you. Is that what you mean by that? Do
you not know what species mean?
So anyway.
Okay, I'm just going to assume you know what species mean. They're doing this as a bit. Okay, Bigfoot themed places consist of Bigfoot books, the Bigfoot Steakhouse, and the Bigfoot Burger, where they serve a Bigfoot themed burger. The Bigfoot Burger, which has Bigfoot feet shaped buns, and the entire sandwich weighs about 1.5 pounds.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Where do you get that?
You want to go to the hospital, the Bigfoot Burger.
Okay. I'll look that up later.
Yeah. Bigfoot evidence. Most primatologists do not believe in the existence of Bigfoot is likely. In 1958, Gerald Crew discovered and casted large footprints in a Bluff Creek, I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone by calling Nordic dumb, but Nordic County. The Humble Times wrote about the story, and editor Rumbles Gonzalez. Wait, Speedy Gonzalez? Speedy Gonzalez?
No, this is the editor.
I know. I'm just saying Speedy. It's a joke.
Oh,
Get
sorry.
joked.
I missed that one.
Yeah, Roger. Okay.
So the Humboldt Times wrote about the story?
Yeah, it wrote about the story. And that Rumble Gonzalez wrote the name as Bigfoot. However, in 2003, the two sons of a man named Ray L. Wallace came forward to admit that their father had created the footprints using a pair of carved wooden feet. Their father, Ray Wallace, was reportedly a prankster, and his son Michael said that it wasn't a very well planned plot or anything. It's weird because it was just a joke, but it took off such a life of its own that now we can't even stop it. But still, the Bigfoot believers still believe.
Wow, so a guy came forward and said that he would just kind of was playing a prank on people?
Two dudes came forward and said that the dad was just playing a prank on people.
And so I guess the way that it would work is they had these big wooden, like foot-shaped, almost like sandals, you would think of them, and they would wear them on their feet or strap them to their feet, and then they would make tracks with them.
Like put them on the ground, just go that like press down. I don't know why I can hold my like hands, like and just press down without like saying anything because you can't even like see.
Yeah, it's a podcast. They can't see you doing that.
Can't see me.
Boy, you talk about something really taking off, though. I mean, that's, I guess like now things go viral on the internet.
Just like copy claim every Bigfoot video. Boom, you're a billionaire. You're fighting Elon Musk because he wants all of your money.
But where do you think that this guy got the idea to do something like that?
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you where. See, Bigfoot.
I'll tell you where.
Bigfoot, even though it didn't go by the name, Bigfoot, there have been stories about large kind of ape man-like creatures.
Big-feeted people.
People that you would think of, or creatures that you would think of as Bigfoot. Those stories have existed for a lot longer.
Since the 15th century,
a lot longer.
I said.
A lot longer than 1958. So...
But please be quiet.
I thought I was supposed to talk in a podcast.
You're supposed to talk in a podcast, but I'm in the middle of my script and stuff. You can literally just hit the scroll wheel on my mouse to go up and down and read stuff and ask me questions about that.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit more about Bigfoot.
Okay, well, next, a wildlife preserve said the Sasquatch, Yeti, Bigfoot, or giant hairy ape are endangered species of Sakuma? I'm just going to say Sakuma County, and there is hereby created a Sasquatch refuge. The description of Bigfoot is, skin color ranges from deep black charcoal, dark brown, reddish brown, with the palms of the hands and soles of the feet much lighter. The average height of Bigfoot is 7 foot 10 inches. The maximum weight is estimated to be over 1,000 pounds. The Bigfoot are mostly silent, but they tend to grunt and have howls. They are very strong and smell very bad. Recent evidence, Dr. Jerry Meldrum, a professor at Idaho State University, published a book called Sasquatch Legends Meet Science. And in the book, he said the evidence fully justifies that it exists. In the 1990s, he said that it would be impossible to make those foot movements with a tool or a robotic of some sort. With all of this said, Bigfoot could be assumed to be the most popular cryptozoology creature entity. And he has probably made millions of dollars off of the movies. I don't know, is Bigfoot profiting off of his movies?
I don't know that I've ever seen an actual Bigfoot movie. Have they made a lot of movies about Bigfoot?
A lot of Bigfoot movies.
Really?
I remember this one movie was like Bigfoot. It was like Bigfoot and like these people like hit Bigfoot and they had like no Bigfoot back house and like these cops like after like Bigfoot and stuff.
You're talking about Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah, it's Bigfoot,
Oh yeah, I guess that is a Bigfoot movie.
That's a Sasquatch.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'd forgotten about Harry and the Hendersons. I think that's probably one of the top top movies ever made. It's right up there with Citizen Kane and
Don't insult Star Wars.
Star
Die Hard.
Wars.
Don't insult Star Wars. Don't insult Die Hard. Don't insult any Marvel movie.
Wait,
Don't insult Deadpool.
Is Die Hard that Christmas movie you like?
I've never seen it, but yes, it is a Christmas movie. And we're not though. If you don't say it's a Christmas movie, watch the video like full, give me the views, and then leave.
So,
come back.
So you know, you said there at the end that Bigfoot is one of the most popular cryptozoological creatures.
Yes.
I'm something of a cryptozoologist myself, as you know. I've studied many years at the academy.
I've got you. Cryptozoology is a type of animal, a myth.
Mm-hmm. And I've studied them extensively for several decades now. I guess we're coming up on. I think Bigfoot is probably the most popular cryptozoological creature, or cryptid, if you want to, call it that.
Have you ever heard of the Kraken?
I have, but I don't think the Kraken's as popular as Bigfoot.
Have you ever heard of Cthulhu?
Again, I don't think that even counts because that's just a made-up story.
It's still a cryptozoological creature.
Cryptozoological creature is one that has the possibility that it could be real, like the chupacabra or the.
Have you ever heard of the scariest thing that could be real, but we don't fully know?
Bigfoot.
No, Kalins.
So anyway, back
and
to
taxes.
I can't. Can you think? What do you think is a more popular, real cryptozoological creature?
I mean, Mothman, maybe.
That's pretty popular.
Okay,
sure.
My friend, shout out to Noah. He told me that the Mothman was actually sighted on the Titanic before it sank.
What? For real?
Yeah.
We probably should have covered that in our episode.
Yeah.
So, I was reading, and I don't know why, it just kind of coincides with this episode, I guess. I just saw it the other day, but an interesting story about a volcanic eruption in the 1980s at Mount St. Helens. Have you ever heard of Mount St. Helens?
Yeah, wasn't there a Mothman, though?
I don't know, but in the 80s, the volcano erupted. Now, Mount St. Helens is up there in that Pacific Northwest area where, the Bigfoot supposedly lives. And in the 80s, when I was a kid, there was a landslide. There was an earthquake first, and I think that caused a landslide, and like half of the volcano's side basically fell off, and then it erupted. And so there was ash and smoke and lava and magma everywhere. It was a big deal. Even though I was younger than you were at the time, I remember it. I didn't know that a lot of people claim that after that eruption at Mount St. Helens, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took helicopters and nets, and they removed the bodies of several Bigfoot-like creatures from that eruption. I guess they lived in the forest in and around Mount St. Helens,
It could just
and a lot of them died.
Apes. Could just been giant apes.
Well, they don't have giant apes though in the Pacific Northwest. That's the thing.
If there was a lot of them and they're in a forest by a volcano, not many people are going, hey, there's this forest and there's this volcano. Let's walk by this forest and this volcano.
Well, there are a lot of people that think that it was basically a colony of Bigfoot type creatures, and that the government removed them, kind of like they did in Roswell, New Mexico, when they had the crash landings and they swooped in and got rid of the alien bodies. They think maybe the government kind of ran in there and got rid of these Bigfoot bodies, and that some of them, even when they found them, were badly injured. Some of them were completely fine and were alive. Why do you think the government would try to cover up the existence of Bigfoot, though? That's what I don't really understand. Bigfoot's not an alien.
Mass hysteria.
Well, who would really care?
Okay, so why would we care about aliens? If there was a Bigfoot creature, we're like, oh, God, there's this giant ape dude that's gonna kill all of us. Same thing with aliens. Same thing with same thing with if the government found the Kraken when they were doing military stuff. We don't want to say, oh, the Kraken exists because we're gonna be like, oh no, Kraken exists. It's gonna kill all of us.
Yeah, but I mean, a Bigfoot, a lot of the descriptions are
basically...
because
there's multiple of them. There's a lot of aliens. They did this with aliens and there's with Bigfoot, because there's multiple of them. There's a chance of more of us dying, and with all of the reports, The government's going to be shamed for not looking into this for though, so they could just be shamed.
Well, here's my point though. I mean, we have giant grizzly bears. We have giant, other types of creatures out there.
Yeah, but we know how to deal with those. We know.
I mean, horses are pretty big. I mean, can you imagine if a horse was standing upright? I mean, that would look like a scary thing.
We know, one shotgun blast could take a horse or a grizzly bear down, but we don't know if one shotgun blast could take a Bigfoot down.
Well, why would you want to take a Bigfoot down? All the stories about them, they seem like they're pretty peaceful, kind of docile type
Except for
creatures.
the stories of them grabbing a rock and smashing it over people's heads. Or grabbing people's heads and smashing that over a rock, like a watermelon being tossed into a forest.
Yeah, I think you've been reading different Bigfoot stories than I have. I don't know all the Bigfoot stories I've seen, they seem like they're just kind of shy, peaceful creatures. They clearly don't want to be photographed. They don't want to be found because they're hiding out in the Pacific Northwest. I guess my question really is why would the government even try to hide Bigfoot from people? I mean, it's just another, kind of a creature. I guess maybe if they had some sort of really close to human-like intelligence,
yeah,
maybe the government would have a reason to hide them from us. I don't really know.
Yeah, like we hide the intelligent beings. Like the government and the military and stuff hides intelligent beings from other intelligent beings because we don't want the thought of things that are presumably smaller than us, that are big and could maybe smash our head open on a rock. And then probably eat brains. I don't know if they eat brains, so like zombies, do they eat brains?
From all of my research, I've seen Bigfoot is...
they'll eat the spaghetti in our head.
Essentially, Bigfoot's a vegetarian. I don't even think he would eat a person if they found him.
Well, then they would just kill him, because most people are like, ooh, Bigfoot, let's kill him, put it in a cage and sell it. That's most people's first reaction to Bigfoot. Well,
that would not be my first reaction. So you're telling me if you were in the woods... and you ran up on a Bigfoot...
And I had a shotgun and shoot in the head because I'd probably be hunting.
Oh, see, again, we have to keep this,
I think it's like an ape. I think it's like an ape or not an ape, but I think it's maybe like a bear or like a giant deer or something. I think it would be an animal. I'm like, oh, I'm hunting. That's a big animal. That's a lot of meat on the table. Chick, chick, bang.
No one's gonna eat a Bigfoot. It's just not gonna happen. They're too close to being human, I think, to eat. You would almost be.
Well, yeah. If you immediately see a Bigfoot and tries to kill you, you're immediately gonna shoot at it.
Yeah.
Maybe not eat it. Maybe you shoot at it because it's a big, scary, monstrous creature, dude.
So, they do eat, I think...
people.
They don't eat people, but they'll eat, smaller animals, maybe,
Like a raccoon.
I guess a Bigfoot is sort of like a human. They're an omnivore. They'll eat fruits and nuts and berries and vegetation, and they'll also eat, smaller animals. Kangaroo, are there even do they even have Bigfoots? Big feets? Does Bigfoot exist in Australia?
We just said in Bigfoot, in Australia, it's the Yowie.
Oh.
We just said that.
I guess I need to pay attention more to the podcast.
Yeah, pay attention to my script that took me 30 minutes to write.
Okay. So, one thing that I've always found to be very interesting about Bigfoot is some of the recordings that they've had throughout time. Now, there's the really famous one where you just see sort of a grainy kind of picture. It's black and white.
I'm pretty sure it turned out to be like a dude in a costume for a movie.
Yeah, but that's a famous one. For a long time, people didn't know that. They thought that was really a Bigfoot sighting. Can you think of any other Bigfoot sightings that maybe aren't guys in costumes trying to make a movie or pull off a hoax?
I don't know. Maybe I have no idea, to be honest. People are just greedy. God, I hate humans so much. Because I'm not a human, by the way. I'm an alien.
One of the things, we were talking about earlier, how they call Bigfoot the Yowie in Australia.
We just mentioned, that wasn't earlier. We just meant, you should say 30 seconds ago, not earlier.
We'll edit that. It'll seem like it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
but,
okay. You're really bad at editing, though. You didn't want to make a couple-hour montage. All you have to do is just put a bunch of sound files together.
Yeah. Can't imagine why I wouldn't want to do that. But
yeah.
I just hope we have our microphone settings okay this time, so you can actually not get your speakers blasted out by our noise. One thing an interesting, we talked about Momo in Missouri. They call Bigfoot Momo, and then in Australia they call him Yowie. The one that I think I like the most is like down in the southeast, kind of in that Alabama area. They call him the skunk ape. I guess because he smells so bad. But to me, it's really, yeah. Can you imagine like a skunk crossed with an ape? That'd be kind of an interesting thing, I guess. There's a big statue of Bigfoot, and it's really not that far from us. It's in a place called Harrod, Illinois, at the Garden of the Gods. This is somewhere where I tried to get you to go here one time.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to leave my house anymore.
I know you're opposed to going outside.
I will only leave my house to go to the grocery store because meat.
But if you look, you can see it right here. So this is down in the Shawnee National Forest in Harrod, Illinois. This is sort of about halfway between here.
The audience has no idea what we're talking about.
No, I'm showing you, but it's a giant Bigfoot statue, and
we should put when we start talking about this, we should put this the picture of in the thing.
Yeah, that's what we usually do. We'll put that in as part of the podcast.
The Bigfoot statue and God,
so people can see.
Yes, God.
The Bigfoot statue at the Garden of the Gods. Now, I don't know why they have a Bigfoot statue at the Garden of the Gods.
Probably because Bigfoot's a cool dude.
And so you think that's all it takes?
Yep, he's a cool guy.
Well, why do you think people have been so interested in Bigfoot all these years? I mean, Bigfoot is something that, certainly when I was a kid, we all talked about Bigfoot. Going back to the 60s and it seems like maybe people were talking about Bigfoot. Why do you think that is? What's so interesting about Bigfoot that people...
Because he's one of the only cryptozoological creatures that are just grounded in reality. It's the most plausible thing we've said in our supernatural part of this.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right. I think of all the crazy cryptozoological type creatures out there, I think Bigfoot may be one that's just kind of that's really interesting, but that's possible too. There could really be a Bigfoot, and I think that's why people find it so interesting. Some of them maybe are a little less likely, some of them may be a little more likely, but Bigfoot really kind of hits that balance, don't you think? Of wow, that is really just a fantastic tale to this is really possible. What do you think?
I think Bigfoot hits that balance exactly because he is basically an ape, but stronger. Which, we can think of what an ape is. We can think, oh, yeah, that's just a giant ape that doesn't smell very well. And then, we can't really think of a giant moth creature that flies in the sky. We can think of that pretty well because it's primarily, the base of it just grounded in reality. But we can't think of ghosts, spooks, demons, and stuff like that because they're not grounded in reality. We're not scared of Bigfoot, but we're scared of ghosts and demons. We're scared of stuff that aren't grounded in reality. Because, as they once said in Predator, if it bleeds, we could kill it. In this situation, if it's grounded in reality, we could kill it.
So there have been some... explanations for these Bigfoot sightings over the years. You talked about the guys who got the big wooden feet out and were playing a prank. One guy. Some people have seen bears. Like if you saw a black bear or a grizzly bear, sometimes they can stand up on their 2 feet, and they kind of look like a Bigfoot. Big feet. Bigfoot. And so, people have thought, well, maybe you were, you actually saw a bear that was standing up and roaming around, and that's what you thought was Bigfoot.
If I saw a bear standing up roaming around, that would be more scary than a Bigfoot.
Another explanation, I guess, is that some people, crazy as it may seem, have have pet apes. They may have a pet orangutan or something like that, and if that ape escapes and gets out into the woods, and you ran up on it while you were, camping or something, you might think that was Bigfoot, because you don't really expect to see an ape.
There was a big fight with a Bigfoot. A big fight with a Bigfoot that had a big feet.
So,
has there ever been a Bigfoot with small feet?
That's a good question. I doubt it. I don't think it would qualify as a Bigfoot. Right? I don't think it would qualify as a Bigfoot. Now, there's another possibility we haven't really talked about here, and that's that Bigfoot did exist at one time.
Probably.
You know, when the Native Americans were drawing petroglyphs, they had images of what they called hairy man. It was sort of like a Bigfoot-like creature, and that the Bigfoot
hairy man.
The Bigfoot creatures are just now extinct, and so maybe they did exist at one point, but they're not around anymore. But their sort of legend has kind of lived on. What do you think about that as a possibility?
Maybe. Wow, you really had it a lot there.
Probably. Any aliens going on here? Anything with the aliens you think?
No,
Bigfoot?
Aliens. No.
There's nothing really that crosses over between aliens.
Aliens bad. I said it was grounded in reality. Alien bad.
You know,
I said alien bad.
So
I said alien bad.
One of the other
alien bad.
Okay, I'm not going to mention aliens, so let's move on. One of the things that I always liked about Bigfoot is some of the terminology that they use. Like if you're going to go out and look for a Bigfoot, they call that squatching. Or they may say, "Oh wow, this is really dense forest. This is really squatchy." I think that's kind of funny. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Bigfoot. A lot of good terminology. Like if we catch a Bigfoot, what are we gonna do? Can I just ask you a question? If we catch a Bigfoot, are we just gonna put it in a cage, or what are we gonna do with it?
You mean what would people do with it? I'm not going to catch a Bigfoot. I will tell you that right now.
Personally,
I'm not fast enough.
Personally, I'd hire it. I'd have it write podcast videos. I'd have it go into a museum. I'd have people pay to be able to handshake the Bigfoot and like high five a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just pay people to just look at Bigfoot. This is Big Feet. Here's Bigfoot. Here's Big Feet.
One thing, if you didn't learn a lot about Bigfoot on this podcast, and I don't know how you would have.
Yeah, nothing's been long.
You may want to check out. You could probably see this on YouTube, and I would, maybe.
I was gonna solve. They won't have Bigfoot.
No. There's an old series that used to be on television, like in the '70s, with Leonard Nimoy would host it. It was called In Search of. You know who Leonard Nimoy is? He's the Spock in the original Star Treks. That guy.
Spock.
And he
is Spock fan of Bigfoot.
He had this series that was a little bit like our podcast, only it was, the production value was probably a little better for him.
A little worse for him, because all production. I mean, we have a curved monitor. We have script writing. We have modern technology. He doesn't have modern technology.
Well, he had a cohesive story that he would stick to, though, and we don't really have that.
But
no.
I mean, I may have. Sure.
But if you go back and you look at some of those old In Search of episodes, there's one about Bigfoot, and I remember watching it on like a rerun late at night sometime. I think probably before a Godzilla movie or something. And there's a really good, interesting episode of In Search of that is all about Bigfoot. So look that up on YouTube. Maybe you can find it somewhere. You'll see some interesting stuff. Some of that stuff I think that was in there has been since debunked, or people have come forward, and like the guy in the suit with the old film and said, no, that was just me in a monkey suit. So any final thoughts on Bigfoot?
He has big feet.
Okay. And any final thoughts here on how the series is going for season 2, episode 1?
It's going well. I'm gonna give a hint. If my friend wants to, we may have a new writer for some episodes.
Huh.
That's all I'm saying. But this has been season 2, episode 1 of The Unexplained and the Unexplainable. I am your host D, and this is your co-host over there.
I'm B.
You can't see him. He's B co-host. He's not the agile host. I'm the agile host. But I think we're gonna have to end this episode here.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button.
Don't I say that every time?
Every time.
But I'm going in. And the notification bell if you want to. Hit every single button except for the dislike button. I mean, if you are subscribed, hit every single button except for the dislike and subscribe.
Okay, that'll do it.
Good, that'll do it. Bye, humans. Bye, humans, fellow humans, because I'm definitely human. Bye.